Hey guys, Jay. Welcome back to the channel. So guys, this is going to be a very special episode here on Mega J Retro. We are going to be doing the top 10 favorite action figures of the 90s. And I'm not going to be doing this alone. I'm going to be doing this with my very special guest tonight. Guys, I want you to please give a warm welcome to my very special guest, the Junkman, everybody. Junkman, how are you doing tonight?
Doing good, doing good. How about you?
I'm doing great, and it's much better now that we've finally been able to get together. I know we've chatted a little bit about doing something together, but never, especially with the way things are today, it's so tough. So I'm glad that we finally got to be able to do this. So thank you so much for being here tonight. This is so great.
Yeah, and I think we got a really good topic going. So I think you guys will really enjoy this.
Just so everybody knows what we're doing tonight, this is the top 10 action figures. And I kind of cheated a little bit, but it's going to be action figures and vehicles of the 90s. And guys, you are in for a big treat. But I do have to remind you guys that the first part of the top 10 was actually over on Junkman's channel, and you guys definitely got to go check that out because it was a heck of a lot of fun. I was able to shock Junkman a little bit. He was able to really blow my mind on a lot of his top 10s, and this is going to be a lot of fun. So definitely head over to Junkman's channel, take a look at his the first top 10 to top 6, and then come back here and we'll finish off the rest. This is going to be a lot. Like I said, we blew each other's minds and had no idea that some of those figures actually even existed. And you know what? That's going to continue here tonight. So definitely, let's go. Let's go, Junkman. You go first. Let's find out what your number 5 pick is.
Number 5. Now, the first people's going to be watching this. If they're watching this for the first time, they didn't watch the first part. They're going to say, "Hey, they're not going to be surprised at all." They're going to say, "I'm surprised this was number 1." So I'm not even going to give it a big intro or anything. Here we go. Number 5, 1995, Boba Fett. Like I said, I'm not shocking anyone. People's like, "Oh, this is a boring list. Junkman going to have Star Wars in his top 5." But no, I kept everything to one toy line. And this one is bulky. It is kind of big, but 1995 Star Wars was back on the toy shelf. Yes. And Boba Fett, I think I bought 5 of these Boba Fetts. I mean, someone had a half circle, someone had a full circle, and you had to buy each one. It was Boba Fett. You had to open it. You had to take it apart, cut his head off, made one with a Dash Rendar head, I think it was. So I could have one. I hollowed the helmet out. It wouldn't never fit good. But I love this figure. I love that whole line. I know they get, made fun of them now because they're big and bulky. But like I said, it's the return of Star Wars, 1995. And this one's not that bad with the muscles and everything. I really love this line. There's no way I could do a top 10 list without something Star Wars. There's no way I could not have Boba Fett on it.
Absolutely. I honestly, I don't think it gets enough love anymore. The Power of the Force really did bring it back. The new movies, the prequels are coming into style. Everything was just brand new with Star Wars again. And when the movies went back to theaters, these were on the shelves, and yeah, they had that little bit of a bulkier body. Luke Skywalker looks like He-Man, like a Prince Adam version. But at the end of the day, it was a lot of fun. That's the whole thing about toys. They were such a lot of fun. And you know what? This figure, he's worth a lot of money at the end of the day if you got him carded. So you know what? If you were into collecting toys, that was the time. So it was great, awesome stuff.
Yeah, and it's a nice. I always like the package of that. The package of that.
Yes. And you know what? It's coming back. They are bringing back the Power of the Force in the Black Series. So you know what? What's old is new again. So
it makes me feel old. I was like, what, the 90s? Oh,
I know, right? Just crazy to start thinking that. But you and I both know old is even further back than that.
That's
all right,
true.
Guys. So for my number 5, I got to say that video games was part of my life. It was becoming like Nintendo had just, done its thing. It did the 16-bit era. And now we're going into the 32-bit era. So you have PlayStation, you've got Xbox, all these big players getting back into the game. And one game in particular just blew the socks off of everybody this particular year. And I could not say no to this character when he first came out. McFarlane Toys did an amazing line of these characters, and I was super excited to actually see this. So guys, my number 5 goes to Metal Gear Solid's Vulcan Raven, everybody. Holy crap. Look at the size of this guy. Junkman, did you know about this line? Because honestly, when I saw this guy, McFarlane was kicking butt right now. This was just absolutely crazy.
Oh yeah, like you again. I know the Metal Gear line, and I remember the figures, but I don't remember this particular one. And it looks awesome. I love the tattoos on him, the tattoos on his head, the big old gun. It's like a barrel or something that he comes with too. And I was like, that. I bet that looks awesome out of the package on display. God. I should have pulled a picture of him, holding that weapon because I bet it looks great.
He looks insane. I mean, like we were talking about Junkman's pick for the Aliens line, and in order to find out what that was, you got to go check out the first video, guys. But let me tell you, the miniguns, the Gatling guns, this one is exactly like it was with that alien figure. And again, you got to go watch that first episode. But this gun is gigantic. It actually fits onto a Harrier jet, and that's actually what this guy was actually strapped to his back in the game. But if you look at the figure, yeah, he doesn't have he's like 6 or 7 points of articulation. Back then, that was huge, guys. This was actually absolutely awesome. See, his elbows don't really move much, right? But he does have bendable knees. His head doesn't move much. It's just his neck doesn't move at all. It's just the top of his head. But seriously, this was the start of everything. McFarlane was going absolutely balls to the walls. They were doing crazy stuff with their figures, and it shows. Because honestly, this and you got to remember, Metal Gear Solid, the video game was very primitive in the way it was actually designed. So seeing this figure, the way he looked, almost like a real person, it was blowing people's minds. It was absolutely insane. So yes,
it's a lot more detail than the game. And like you said, McFarlane changed. There would be no NECA today without McFarlane in the 90s. There would be no, a lot of these collectibles would be nothing. He changed the game where it showed, hey, these toys they're not just for kids in the 90s. And he really knew the market was changing because, we were getting in. They were about 20-year-olds starting to get into X-Men line. Toybiz had a bunch of good stuff. And McFarlane knew, hey, there's a market out there for this kind of stuff.
Absolutely. Kid from Canada starts his own comic book and then creates a freaking toy empire. Absolutely insane. So, man, what are you looking at your number 4 pick? What are we looking at?
Number 4. Okay, this is another one. Speaking of 90s and Toybiz, this one here. I have to put it on the list because I got a lot of history with it. It's just a figure that I fell in love with. It was when I started getting back into toys in the early 90s. This was a line from X-Men that I just really, really loved. And we're talking Iceman. I always loved any figure that was clear. And I've talked about it before. I worked at Toys R Us when this came out. It was hot to find. And if you were in my local Toys R Us, you wasn't getting it because everyone I saw, I kept in the back. But when I saw a toy collector, I would say, "You looking for Iceman?" And I would give it to him.
Yeah,
I didn't want some kid buying Iceman and messing up us collectors, but it just holds a lot of memory. I mean, at that time of really starting to get back in the action figures. You're out of school, you don't have a job yet, so you don't got bills. So it's that good time period. No school, no real responsibilities. So you could waste. I had a job, but I could waste my money on X-Men toys and stuff.
I know exactly what you're saying. I know.
Yeah, 100%. And you freeze it. My buddy Russ still has his in the freezer. He's kept it in the freezer ever since the 90s. So I always love the clear figures you can see through like that. So that just adds a little bit more fun to it. And like I said, it's just the history and the memories I have with this one here. I had to put it on the list.
Absolutely. And you know what? X-Men, Marvel, they were Marvel was selling its soul back then. They were literally their properties were going everywhere. But the one thing that they did right was definitely hooking up with Toybiz. All the comic book companies started doing it around the same time as well. But you know what? The classic cards here, which are coming back in style, they're doing a lot of these.
Yeah, coming back to
re-releases. They look absolutely amazing. And of course, Bobby here, he looks amazing. Translucent plastic, you can't go wrong with that. I mean, but it's funny because around the 90s, with some of my next picks, I'll explain it later, but they were doing everything translucent. It was just another way to sell another toy. It was crazy. It was absolutely nuts. But yes, excellent pick, Junkman. My hat's tipped off to you, man. That's a great pick. I don't have a hat, but you can tip your hat for yourself.
I'll tip it for you. And you can't do a 90s figure while having an action figure that comes with a trading card. They love shoving trading cards into everything back in the 90s.
That was so great. Honestly, I had the first set, a complete set of the X-Men trading of the.
I think I have them somewhere in a box still too. I was really crazy about trading card, and they would come. You buy like a Toy Fair magazine we were talking about. You buy it, there'd be a trading card in it. Absolutely. You buy Star Wars Bindums as a trading card in it. So there was everything you could possibly buy. There was a trading card in it.
Crazy. Yeah, again, they just love doing it. It was a great giveaway.
Yeah.
Cards are cheap. Cards are cheap to make.
Yeah.
All right. So we are number 4 again, right? So
Yes,
yeah. So for me, again, this was a bit of a cheat, but you know what? This is one of those things which I was just absolutely obsessed with. Batman is just a huge thing for me. Just absolutely. You know, it always has been. I remember when I saw the first Batman '89 movie, Michael Keaton as Batman. It just blew everyone's minds. Again, it was just another one of those things where comics are not always for adults, or not always for kids. They can be fun for adults too. And when Batman Return came around, this is actually the one thing I saw in the movie, which I was so excited for, but at the same time I was kind of disappointed for it because the Batmobile kind of got destroyed, but in a good way. So my number 4 pick is Kenner's Batman's Returns Bat Missile Batmobile. Holy crap.
I saw that one. I was like, oh, I didn't even think of toy. I didn't think of cars. I was like, that's awesome.
I cheated a little bit because this was supposed to be action figures, but I can't. I just can't. Like Batman was everywhere. He was like they were making every single Batman. Frozen Batman, color changer Batman, this Batman, that Batman. But there's nothing more iconic than the first Batmobile, and then for it to transform into something else and actually become even more awesome. I was like, forget it. I got to do this. So yeah, this was mine. And that scene in the movie, I don't know if you remember it, Junkman, but it was just absolutely nuts.
Oh, definitely, yeah. And Batman was kind of what pushed probably me and a lot of people my age back in the toys with the '89 Batman. And I remember buying those figures wasn't good, but I remember buying the '89 Batmobile, and then I bought it. I loved it, and then I had a friend that owned a comic book store, and he bought one that had the shell on it.
Oh,
so I was like, mine didn't have a shell. So they updated or something really fast with the shell on it. And I was so mad. I could never find it with the shell on it. But that's a pretty awesome one, too. That one. I remember that one from the Batman Returns, which is probably about the same mold. The car probably didn't change that much. But I like that this one splits apart.
Yeah, that's exactly what they did. They just took the exact same mold and they re-engineered it so it could actually clip together. And then when you hit the button, the whole thing explodes and you can hit the front and the front missile shoots out. Lots of fun stuff. So yeah, love it.
If there's any younger kids watching that think Batman's like popular now, you don't know the Batman fever. Between '89 and the early '90s,
it was insane.
I mean, you had the cartoon come out and you had the movies.
Yeah,
it was huge. It
was absolutely insane.
Yeah.
So we're up to number 3. What do you got for us, Junkman?
3. This is another pick. People's gonna say, "Yeah, that's Junkman, all right." I can't do a top 10 list without Playmates Star Trek line. It was huge in the 90s. And there's another one that was pulled in a lot of collectors. Each one had a foot number on it. And I fell for that gimmick. I was looking at feet when I was buying them, trying to find a low number. And I'll be honest, it was hard for me to pick. I said, I got to have Star Trek Next Generation on here because I'm a huge fan of the show. I was a huge fan of the toy line. I was like, who do I pick? And that was tough. I said, first I was like, well, we got to go with Picard because he's the big guy of the show. But I have to go with a Borg because the Borg's a villain. And I said, well, I can't go with just that. So I said, I'll just do it both. And we'll do Locutus of Borg right there. We'll mix them together of Borg. And I was like, it's a great looking figure. It comes with some accessories so you can change the hand now and have different kind of hands on it. Comes with a figure stands, always a nice. Comes with a trading card because it is the 90s. And that's before they started putting them with Pogs. I don't know if you remember Pogs or not.
I do remember Pogs, yeah.
They were huge.
They were
I've heard people tell me they didn't like the look of the Playmates. They didn't look good. And I was like, I can't see it because I think they look amazing, especially for the time period. I think Playmates really put a lot of love into this line. This wasn't something they just slapped together to make a few bucks. Because they're really, really great detail, these figures.
No, I think they looked amazing, honestly, for the time, because there was no photo reel back then. The sculptors had to come in; they had to actually do their magic and everything like that. And this is like 2 million different figures in one because the Borg Collective it's in there somewhere. So yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot. But I love the detail. If you zoom in on that, honestly, there's a lot of detail in that figure. Like seriously, holy cow! And of course, not too many figures, when you really think about it, had detachable arms. So this was one
Yeah,
of
that was
those
something
great
new
figures,
then.
So beautiful.
Yeah, the 90s is when they started really having attachable things. So.
Absolutely.
And he's got a lot of joints to him. And then the elbows, the legs. I know they kind of, when you sit them down, they have a big wide spread and everything, but still.
Yeah, articulation started to become a big thing in the 90s, and you know what? We can all thank goodness for that, because honestly, we're really benefiting from that now. Just
we might have to disagree. Sometimes they get carried away with it. I'm like, this is just too many joints on this thing. I don't really get the joint right here. When you can see the the line, it just kind of throws me off.
Yeah, the ab crunch and all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They did a Luke Skywalker Dagobah thing, and it's just all you can see is joints and the little plastic screws and everything.
Sometimes you just want to put a figure on a shelf and let him look good, and sometimes it doesn't work. I got you.
Sometimes they get carried away with it. I hear you. They don't have the fingers moving yet.
You know what? Don't say that, because they do. In a lot of cases, they do. All right. So for my number 3 pick, again, video games was a huge thing for me back in the 90s. I was just getting into PlayStation. It was really like massive. And one of the biggest PlayStation games of all time, of course, is Final Fantasy VII. And then followed up by Final Fantasy VIII the very next year, a year and a half later. And honestly, Final Fantasy fever was everywhere, and I got swept up in it. And around the same time, I think about a year later, they started releasing action figures of the Final Fantasy VIII figures. And yeah, I was going absolutely nuts, trying to collect every single one of these characters. But the crown jewel of the collection, the one that was only announced at the very tail end of the line, which everyone was hoping would be released, because there was actually rumors that it wouldn't actually come out. It finally did hit store shelves, and I was searching all over town for it. Finally found it in one comic book shop, a tiny little comic book shop, and I'm so happy to still have this guy in my collection. It is the Final Fantasy Guardian Force Collection Ultima Weapon. Holy crap! I'm not even going to ask. I'm pretty sure you don't even know what this is.
I know the game. I never really. I maybe played it at the friend's house a couple of times, but and I've seen other figures, but I've never seen this one. You got me on this one too.
So this is one of the very final bosses in the game. The boss just before this looks exactly the same, so it's basically a recolor of the first boss. But he comes with a very special weapon, which is that Buster Sword right there. That is that's actually Cloud Sword from Final Fantasy VII, and that's his ultimate sword. So that's actually one of the biggest things for this collection. That's what makes it so unique. He's colored differently from the original version of this character, but he was never meant to come out. It's amazing that he actually did finally make it to North America, and honestly, it was impossible to track him down. So I was super, super lucky to actually get him in the collection. He has two amazing features. One is that he's got one figure, which is standing right there, but in the game, he's actually joined up with that huge secondary character, the secondary monster. So they actually, the little peg at the very top of looks like a tiny little hump at the top of his head of the big four-legged creature there. He actually, the base again. This is where things kind of become interesting. So the action figure there, he detaches from his waist and actually reattaches on the ball on the top of the figure there. So they become one figure. Absolutely amazing. Just incredible. So
yeah, it looks, like I said, I don't really know much about it, but it looks really, really interesting, really cool. And it looks like pretty good, good details and everything on it.
Well, the details are just incredible. And it's huge. That's the important thing. It's just absolutely massive. It was absolutely huge, right? Yeah. And again, it wasn't supposed to come out. The Artifacts was not supposed to bring it out here, but they finally did. It was great. It was incredible.
Yeah, that looks really, really good. So you have one in your own collection, you said?
I still have it. I have all of them. I still have all of them. It's at my mom's house.
I got toys that she tells me all the time. You don't get this stuff?
That's exactly. She's like, when are you going to come get this stuff? Like,
get your toys.
She won't throw them though, which is good. She loves me.
I hear you. Well,
so we're down to number 2. What do you got for us, Junkman?
Number 2, and let me share. Okay, we talked about it before. Batman fever was hot in the 90s, man. It was hot, and to pick another, it was like Star Trek, to pick something just Batman, and I was like, first you got the movies you can pick from, you get the animated series you can pick from, and I said, man, what am I gonna pick? Because I got to have something on here, and I'm going to pull it up. This is from the movie, the Batman, the animated series movie, the Phantasm, Mask of the Phantasm. Hadn't had a girl represented on the list. This is a girl. If you're going to have it on the list, this is the one to have. Because this is amazing looking figure, amazing looking line. That whole Batman animated series that, when they first came out, first I put Two-Face on it, and then I took him off, and I put the Joker on, and I took him off, and I said, I got to go. Because, again, we talked about in the part 1 video, you get 2 figures for the price of one. You got one that's put the hood on, you got a whole different figure. Take the hood off, you got a different figure. And if you didn't see the movie, you saw this at the toy stores, it was a spoiler.
Absolutely. Holy
It's like, why did you do that? It's got some cool accessories. It's just a nice looking figure. And this is really what pushed me into more collecting than anything was that Batman animated line.
Absolutely. One of my absolute favorite movies, especially because it was animated, the animated series, again, if kids don't know today, it was absolutely Batman Fever was absolutely massive. When the animated series came out, everyone was watching it. And the Mask of the Phantasm, a lot of people don't know this. It was actually supposed to be a 5-part miniseries on TV, but it just they couldn't tell the story in just 5 episodes. So they're like, let's just make it into a movie. And I remember the twist at the end was just, for me, it blew my mind. And I was like, wow. And if I'd seen this in the stores, I think I would have lost. I would have been stomping. What? I would have been going crazy because that was the big twist. That was the big reveal.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Why they didn't package it with the hood on, I don't understand.
Yeah, that's crazy. I don't understand. Maybe it was that problem with the Ninja Turtles where they get the sticky plastic and you leave it in the store for too long, all of a sudden start sticking to each other. I don't know, but seriously, that was the big twist. I didn't even know this thing actually was released. Thank you for showing that to me.
Oh, you didn't know? You didn't know this one?
I did not know that. That's crazy. Thank you for showing that to me. That's
crazy. There's a whole line based on the movie. Of course, there's one line on the series, but this was its own separate line. So it looks really, really good. It's a really good looking figure, and I'm glad I picked them all up. And back then, I was only buying the villains.
Yeah,
there's too many Batman.
Yeah, too many.
I never did get the normal Batman. Now he's worth a lot of money.
I know. That's the problem. You can't.
But I have the villains, so I was like, okay.
You can't be sleeping on the regulars, man. They can't be sleeping on the generation ones.
That's why people sleep on them and nobody buys them. And they're one that's worth.
Exactly.
And like you were saying, when Batman the animated series started, it was the first one. Was like, this is not a cartoon, aimed just for kids. This was my first, other than the comic scene, a dark kind of Batman. Unless you count Michael Keaton as dark, but it's not that dark. But I was like, this is like Batman that we fell in love with.
Yeah.
And like you said, when the animated series figures first came out, I remember going to Toys R Us, and they were blown out. All the villains were blown out. It just brought people out. I think another one like the X-Men and the Batman movie, it made some of the young adults start buying action figures again.
Absolutely. Just crazy. Just wonderful.
Yeah.
Beautiful stuff. All right. So my number 2 pick, as I said, my channel, as a lot of you guys on this channel know, it started off as an anime review channel. I was into cartoons. I was in animation. I was into a whole bunch of different things, but anime was still, very, very top of my mind when I was in the 90s. And this anime just blew everyone's mind when it first landed. Neon Genesis Evangelion, what a great series. And Zabek and Kyoto released this toy. And honestly, in terms of what you could do with articulation for figures, this is one of those things where it really did show the possibilities of multiple articulation, multiple points of things. And to my knowledge, this is the first time I saw an articulated, swivel ankle. And that really changed the whole game for me. So my number 2 pick is Neon Genesis Evangelion Eva 2 production model. Oh my gosh. This type of figure here, this is the one that really got my imagination going. It had multiple points of articulation. The first swivel ankle that I'd ever seen in any action figure up to that point. The replaceable hands, if you look there on the right side, they got 4 sets of replaceable hands. That to me was incredible. I could not believe this. He's got a sword. She has a sword. She has a knife. She's got 2 big, huge weapons with cartridges. It was just beautiful. And of course, the figure looked exactly like it did in the cartoon, show. So for me, this figure was absolute, just just toy porn. I'm telling you, it was gorgeous, and I'm pretty sure Junkman's never seen anything like this. That was.
No, I'll be honest. I don't know what the show is. I don't know what the figure is, but I was like, yeah, look at all those accessories. That made me want. That would make me want it, especially in the 90s, just for all those accessories. And I bet this is another one. I wish I pulled a picture up out of the package, because I bet out of the package displayed, I bet this thing looks awesome.
It does, because it can literally like it the way like it was one of those figures where I could actually see it like pointing and shooting, and it could do this, it could do this, it could do that. It was so dynamic. And it really showed the articulation possibilities for action figures. And your favorite the waist swivel. It probably came from here, because honestly, it's literally cut in the middle, and it can twist its waist all the way over. Luckily, the one thing you don't like, which is the ab crunch, it didn't have that yet. Ab crunches came much later. But this incredible figure, honestly, so beautiful, just crazy.
Yeah, it looks amazing. I know that picture too I got is kind of blurry. It's not the best picture. It's hard to actually kind of find a picture of it. I mean, it's a small resolution picture of it. So
it's hard to find. The reason you couldn't find very many pictures of it is because this was the 90s, and anime and the Japanese toys weren't as popular yet. And again, this is very obscure. So anybody who actually knows of this line, my hat's tipped off to you, because it's actually not that easy to find these ones. So, I'm glad you were able to find something, Junkman. That's awesome.
Yeah, so I'm guessing this wasn't released in the U.S.
It was released.
Limited.
It was imported. It was imported by what's it called? Diamond. Diamond imported this, and it was only available at fan channel stores. It was only available at comic stores. It was not available at Toys R Us. It was not available at Walmart. It wasn't available anywhere else. So
yeah, it was like a specially shop type.
Yep, you had to know a guy. You had to know a guy. All right, so we're down to the one. We're down to the one.
Down to number one.
Talk to
us. I need a drum roll or something.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's.
Okay, number one. This was. I was like, okay, let me think of something that sums up the 90s. That changed the game in the 90s. Made the 90s what they are when it comes to action figure. And we've talked about this toy company before. McFarlane, I had to put another McFarlane on here. Like I was saying I think it was part 2, I tried to do one toy line, but there was no way this wouldn't be in my top 2 or 3, because one is amazing looking figure. One, it changed the game, and it was released during the Todd toy era. It's the original Spawn.
Oh no! Yes.
I mean, it just looks. This was the first time you walked, but at least for me, walked into a toy store, saw something in the shelf that was made for my age at the time, probably early 20s. No kid, no 13-year-old, 12-year-old knew what Spawn was, or most of them didn't. Maybe some really cool kids, but 8-year-old kids wasn't buying this. So it was amazing looking. The detail was something unlike anything I ever seen for a toy line. When you took out the box and the cape looked like it was actually blowing in the wind and everything, that looked amazing. The whole line is a great looking line. And this one, again, Todd knew what he was doing, because with comic books, you did the variations. This one, you could get it you could find the one without the mask. And then there was another one with the mask came off. So I can't remember though. There was like 3 variations. And I know one was without the mask. I could never find that one without the mask. But so he knew what he was doing those variations, getting people talking about it. Early days of the internet, and I would be on American Online or the news groups. And who's got Spawn? Who got this? Who did you find the clown? That's another one that had 2 different faces. But again, this one I think changed the market. We talked about it before, McFarlane. It did change, at least for the collector market. And probably changed the regular market too. They saw, hey, we can appeal to an old audience with this stuff.
100%. 100%. Around the time Image Comics was changing the game for comics, right? Marvel was still sticking to the comics code. It was okay, but Image Comics comes out, freaking, everybody's dying in there. People are getting shot. Things are happening in there that should not be happening in comic books at the time. And out comes some little guy, Canadian. Making up a story about demons in hell and Spawn of crazy stuff, and he comes out with this character named Spawn, and then he doubles down on that and decides, I'm not just gonna conquer the comic book industry. I am gonna conquer the toy industry, and he goes as I said, just like full out. This one, of course, comes with a comic book. The character himself still in that limited articulation style. A few innovations, but for the most part, still 5 PA, maybe 7 PA. Yeah. But look at this. Look at the sculpting. Look at the cape. Look at the billowing. Everything about this figure is just premium. You know what I mean? Like he was literally going to his manufacturer and saying, "I want to do this," and they're like, "What are you talking about? Like, nobody does this." And it's like, "Well, I want to do this," and he pushed those guys to the brink. And you know what? Still offered it at a price point where most collectors like, yeah, I'll buy that. I'll pick that up. It comes with a comic book, but that's how he did it. He included the comic book. It was like another $5 or $6 more, but the comic made it. Because the comics were being collectible, right? And that was what it was. If you wanted a number 1 Spawn, you can get it with this toy line, and it was amazing, just absolutely incredible, wonderful, great pick. Awesome.
I don't think people realize now, at least younger people, how much he changed the game. Comic books, for years it was Marvel and DC, and everybody's like, you can't have a successful comic book. You might have some underground hit, but you're not going to have a mainstream hit. And then he, with Image, came with Spawn and changed the game. And then they told him the same thing with toys, as a kid market, niche collector market. And he said, okay, we'll see about that. Yeah. And changed the game on that one also.
Just, it's absolutely crazy. Great pick. Great pick. And again, started out as Todd's Toys of all things. It's just so fun. I love it.
Hey, and I'll do a shameless plug at junkmanmerch.com. You can get a Todd toy logo shirt.
There you go. Definitely head over there. Definitely pick up one of those great shirts. That's awesome. All right, guys. So down to my number 1 pick, and we don't need a drum roll for this because it's kind of if there's anything totally obscure out there, this is the one.
Well, this is the one I want to talk to you about, probably too. Well,
all right. You want to ask me a question now, or no?
No, go ahead when we reveal it, because my question probably has nothing to do with this toy.
So back in the 70s.
Okay, maybe it does.
I'm just gonna come out with it.
Okay.
Back in the 70s, I was a kid. Like I was just out of I couldn't even walk. And when this cartoon came out. All right, back in the 70s, and when I finally watched the cartoon, I was already like 5 or 6 years old, but I remember this cartoon vividly because it was giant robots. It was just huge. It was just massive, and I just could never find any toys because they didn't exist. They were only in Japan. They were never coming out here ever, right? And we'd never have a chance. Then sometime, like, it was the late 90s. It literally came out pretty much at the end of the year. And I was literally like, oh my God, it's here. It's actually a real thing. So I remember, I couldn't get it until 2000, but when it came out, I was literally drooling over it. I was looking at magazines. I was talking to everybody I could, and I had to somehow import this from Japan. And what ended up happening was, a couple of Chinese malls here in Ontario where I live, they actually had a couple, and I didn't know this. A friend of mine had to tell me, so I ran over there. And when I finally came home with it, I couldn't believe this, guys. My number 1 pick for 90s action figures is the Bandai Soul of Chokugin Grandizer. Holy crap! So you know what? I'm gonna let Junkman ask some questions because he's obviously got some questions. Because honestly, I don't think anybody outside of myself and a few other people are really going to know what the heck this is. So go ahead, man.
I saw this and I was like, hey, that's a Shogun Warrior.
That's right. That is correct. You got it.
Okay, because I didn't know. I was like, is that linked to Shogun? Because I was like, I had Shogun Warrior as a kid. And I was like, that looks just like one of the Shogun Warriors. That's why I want to ask you. I said, this got something to do with Shogun Warriors?
You are correct.
Coincidence.
You are correct. So Shogun Warriors was actually the only toy. So I guess I forgot about that. So the cartoon series was called Force 5, and Marvel at the time made a deal with Toei Animation to bring over this cartoon line. The toys were actually the Shogun Warriors were its own thing, but Marvel, in order to support the toy line, they actually were contacted by I believe it was Bandai Japan or Toei Animation, and they said, look, we want to bring over these cool what was it? 14-inch toys, something like that, like the 17-inch toys.
Yeah,
gigantic figures, right?
Huge.
And then we want to call them Shogun Warriors, but we need something. We don't want to like the cartoon is going to come out later, but we need something to support it. So they created a whole comic book series called the Shogun Warriors, Raideen, Transor Zed, what's it called? Dragon. They called it Dragon. It was Getter Dragon, but they called it Dragon, and Dragon Robo. And I think the last one was Godzilla. Actually, I believe that was the entire line. So this version did not come out because he was in Japan as one of the Shogun Warriors on the label that they had. But this one was actually part of the Force 5 collection series. So Force 5 collection was a series of five cartoons that ran once a day. Each had a different episode for each series, and it ran Monday through Friday. So Monday would be Star Avengers. Tuesday would be Vanguard Ace. Wednesday would be Space Cateers. Thursday would be Grandizer, and then Friday would be I can't remember the last one off the top of my head. But anyway, it was a collection of 5 different shows, and this was the best show of all of them. Amazing figure. Now this is what I would consider the start of what I would call the perfect grade action figures. Fully I think it's 40% diecast. And diecast is a lost art. Diecast is, from Transformers, no longer used. Nobody uses it anymore. This is about 40% diecast. You can see it in his legs. He's got full diecast legs from the top to bottom. His torso is made of plastic, but everything's chromed out with wonderful materials. He actually transforms and fits into that flying saucer, which is on the right there. He literally transforms and fits in there. Comes with 2 additional accessories: the flying saucer and the spazer. And honestly, this figure back in 1999 cost a whopping $150 US.
Whew.
Yeah, it was not cheap. It was basically a PlayStation. It was basically PlayStation. It was the cost of a PlayStation. And I ran out and I bought it. So if it was $150 US, it was $175, almost $200 Canadian. So I had to have him because it was a piece of my childhood. Never will ever have gotten another one. And people, and now he's upwards of $300-400. So absolutely insane. So yeah, beautiful figure.
This is another one I do wish now, seeing that I pulled the picture out of the box, because I bet it looks. Did you open it when you got it?
Of course I did.
Okay. That's something. You got to open that.
Honestly, every single one of the Shogun Warriors that I was able to pick up, the Soul Jokugen action figures, I opened them all up. All the Star Avengers, all the Getters, I opened them all up.
Yeah, you got.
I cannot have this little piece of history for me, this golden gem that was just I'd never had in my life. So I was like, absolutely, I'm picking this up. 100%.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Like I said, I had my brother had the big Shogun Warrior.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a die-cast one, and I love Shogun. When I saw that, the first thing I thought, I was like, wait a minute. That reminds me of Shogun Warrior. So I was like, okay.
So great.
So
wow.
Pretty cool.
Wow. Junkman, this was so much fun. Thank you so much for being here tonight. I really do appreciate you. Where can people find you on the internet? I mean, you've got a great channel. Guys, if you have not already checked out Junkman's channel, definitely check it out. So much nostalgia. Junkman, tell us where we can find you. Well,
make it easy. Just thatjunkman.com. Take you right to my YouTube channel. And like I said, I talk a lot of toys, not just toys. If you're like, I don't want to talk toys, I talk mostly 70s, 80s. Sometimes dive into the 90s, but it's mostly pop culture. If you're into toys, you're into whatever I'm talking about. The movies, the TV shows. And I like to find a little forgotten history of it. That's usually what I like. If I can't find something new or different to say about it, I try to, I usually don't make a video on it unless it's something I want to talk about just to talk about it.
Absolutely. He does so Junkman does a lot of retrospectives on so many different topics, obscure, Star Wars toys that never came out. And my absolute favorite episode to date, because I'm sure more will come out, was definitely that retrospective on the He-Man live action, a theatrical presentation. That was musical. It was a musical. Crazy.
It looked horrible.
Oh, I loved it. The next one I want to see is the Thundercats. Is the Thundercats musical? I think that one's going to blow my socks.
I have to look into that one.
Yeah, look it up. I'm waiting for somebody to do a documentary, and I'm hoping it's you.
I have to see about that. There was an Ewok on ice, and I can't find much information about it. And I was like, that sounds like it's horrible. And I can't find any good videos of it, just like little small clips. And I was like, oh,
that's okay. You know what? The way you present things, that's what matters. So
But
guys,
maybe it's best the world don't remember. He walks on ice.
sometimes that makes sense.
Yeah.
Guys,
And just to let people know, if they don't watch my channel, it's 2 videos a day, noon and at 8. So Monday through Friday. So I'm sure you know how hard that is.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. It's a grinding schedule, but honestly, guys, we do this because we love toys. We love the history of action figures, and of course, the history of popular culture back when we were kids. So definitely go check out the Junkman's channel. Find him on The Junkman on YouTube. You guys will not regret it. Guys, that was a wonderful little countdown that Junkman and I did together. I really do suggest that you head over to his channel if you are really into, nostalgia of the 80s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. Honestly, he really does have some amazing content. My personal favorite is, of course, the He-Man live-action stage performance. That was incredible. Guys, please head over to his channel and definitely check out his top 10 action figures where he starts off the countdown, and then we conclude it right here. Guys, thank you again for watching this episode, and if you enjoyed it, please do leave me a like. It really does help me out. I hope you guys are all doing well, staying safe, and as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching. Geek proud. I want to give a huge shout out to all my Patreon and channel member supporters: RyRatCan33, Old IT Guy, Princess Cagali, John Joker, Michael Traverso, Christopher Herndon, Snell World, Thomas Meyer, Budrick Porter, and Joseph Michaels. Thank you for all your support, everybody. It really means a lot to me and really does help the channel to keep going.